Wealthy people of Reddit, what is a good habit everyone should start doing? Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the Vancher channel. Also, please share your thoughts on this video in the comments. Let's get started. Story 1. It's best to get better at the things you're good at in terms of marketable skills, rather than improve things you've always been bad at generally. Someone who is truly extraordinary at something can command a much higher income in a more specialized field than someone who is just above average at everything. Answer: I do not regret taking the jack-of-all-trades route in my personal skill tree, but understanding that the breadth of knowledge and minor skills I developed aren't especially useful to most human beings was a hard pill to swallow. That's okay. Not everyone is suited for a standout role. I'm happy to help support my friends and family with their projects because I see so much potential and I want to help bring it out. If you'd like to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee. Link is in the description. I'll show the most interesting messages in my videos. Story 2. Build saving into your budget as one of the highest priority items. Food, shelter, savings, then the rest. It has to be a priority in order for you to accumulate wealth. That tax return you're getting each year, use it to pay off any debts you have. And if you have none, fund a Roth IRA with the money. Do this every year. Don't treat it as a spending spree. That is incredibly short-sighted. Contribute at least as much as whatever your company matches on your 401k. Although to really accumulate wealth, you need to contribute more. But start small. Don't get discouraged. Come over to Our Personal Finance if you don't know anything about IRAs, 401ks, investing, etc. Knowledge is power. Saving even 10 months is better than nothing. Don't get caught up in the how much. Focus on the fact that you make it a habit and you stick to it. Story 3. Make a budget and stick to it. If and when your income increases, don't change the spending budget. The excess should increase your savings budget. If your savings are sufficient, then the excess should increase your investment budget. Also, at any point in your journey, you do not have the money that is required for your bills. Let's say you get paid $1,000 in a month and your expenses are $500. This means you only actually got paid $500, period. Get into that mind frame and stick to it. Another also. Include everything in your expenses calculation. Yes, that includes cigarettes and liquor. It also includes occasional expenses that you would average out to cost per month based on typical expenses for a year. Answer. Question from someone with a loose budget. After you reach a balance in savings that you're comfortable with, my goal is 6 months of expenses and then slowly towards 1 year of expenses. Your advice is to put it in your investment budget. At what point am I going to start enjoying all the money I make? After becoming well off, so to speak. Why wouldn't I increase my spending budget? Story 4. First thing, most of my uber wealthy friends do not have a large Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat presence. They literally tell me they post just to store pics on Facebook and see friends. They are too busy in their work and personal life than to worry about people's reactions. Second, they save. Third, confidence. Seriously, they are not afraid to make a decision, stand by it, then admit when it goes bad. Fourth, never get complacent. Fifth, set goals. Story 5. Not wealthy, but most of the wealthy people I know read a lot, exercise routinely, and show a genuine curiosity when meeting people. Story 6. 1. Accept that you will not get rich overnight. 2. Seriously, you will not get rich overnight. 3. Obtaining wealth takes dedication, time, and hard work. 4. If you have debt, pay it off. Don't fudge, complain, or make excuses. Complaining about the job market doesn't change anything, but making changes in your own life might. See steps 1, 3, 5. Live below your means and save your money. Take your net income and live off no more than 80 of it. If that's 50K a year for you, there are plenty of people living off 40K, and you can too. Take the extra money and invest it. But distance runner, then I can't afford the new iPhone and eating out every weekend. Fine, buy the new iPhone. Don't save your money and continue in the endless cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. 6. Don't fudge touch your invested money unless you abso-fudge-lutely have to. If you can't afford it off that $80 of your net income, then you can't afford it. Literally, the only thing you touch that money for early on is to save you from going into debt, and if it's your last resort. 7. Suppose you invested $10K a year in a mutual fund that averages 7 growth. In 20 years, you now have $425,678. You've doubled your investment, and that's assuming you never get a raise. After this, what if your household income is now $100K and you start investing $20K a year? Seriously, living off 80K is easily doable. In 20 more years, you have 2.5 million. So you 25 to 30-year-olds, start fudge investing. By the time you're 65, you'll be worth 2.5 million on top of whatever 401k or retirement plans you have through work. And know what 7 of 2.5 million is? It's 175k. And if you kept that 2.5 million invested, you could live comfortably off the interest alone. And if you don't make that much, see steps 1-3. Keep working hard. 8. Edit. There aren't many young rich people. We can't be all Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, I know waiting 40 years to be wealthy sucks. If you can't handle it, go buy a lot of Bitcoin. But you're effectively gambling at that point. You may get lucky, you may not. You probably won't. But go ahead and try. 9. Edit. You want the possible best of both worlds? Hedge your bets. Diversify your portfolio into high-risk and low-risk assets. Put 1,000 to 2,000 a year into shoot like Bitcoin or whatever the next big thing is, as long as the other 8K is going to savings and safe investments. You may hit it big, but probably not. Oh well, you tried, and still have a relatively good nest egg being stored away. Edit. Edited for clarity and fixed a typo. Answer. This right here, guys. I'm disabled, won a small lawsuit, nowhere near enough to really do much with, other than start a small retirement fund. It makes so much money for nothing. I can't believe it. Even if you save a few dollars a month and start adding more and more money every month, that shoot compounds so fast. The problem for most people is getting that first few thousand saved. It's the only thing I have going for me in life right now. Story 7. I'm not wealthy by any means, but I was born into lower middle class. Family never had money. All my clothes are donations and hand-me-downs, etc. I am upper middle class now. Like I said, not wealthy, but I haven't lived paycheck to paycheck in years. I helped my wife to get out of her debt. When I was younger, I went to a tech school so I can learn a trade. I worked 2 jobs and an internship in high school, saved everything, continued working 2 jobs through college, ended up going to grad school and finding a job that requires a degree. My advice? Don't be afraid to work harder than you need to, temporarily. Save money. Live beneath your means to build a savings. Arrange your classes, work, responsibilities so that nothing overlaps and you have moments of free time throughout the day. Pack an emergency kit of water and snacks and OTC medicines. None of this happens without self-care. After you have a savings, use it to build equity. Invest in something that will grow your money. Invest in multiple places. Look for a way to monetize your skills and hobbies so you aren't fighting an uphill battle. Play to your strengths. Learn how to take advantage of free things like clothes, meals, and entertainment. Stay away from adult beverage, substances, nicotine. Story 8. Save first, then spend. Don't spend on a luxury want assuming that you would be able to save something by the end of the month. Story 9. I'm not sure if this will be helpful, but work harder than anyone else. I went from being homeless, I was kicked out when I was a teenager, to being what I assume would be considered wealthy by my late 20s. Before being kicked out, I was on track to go to whatever university, and I had so many options ahead of me. Then those were taken away, and I couldn't just go to university because I had to work and live. I went to night school and worked my jerk off every day. I was the first in the office and the last to leave. I convinced my bosses to give me promotions by saying that I would keep my existing salary for the first 6 months, and they can decide then if they'd like to give me a raise or not. I'm not saying it will work the same for everyone, but the years I spent not enjoying my late teens and early 20s has set me and my family up for the rest of our lives. That said, I am super jealous of people who got to enjoy their teens and 20s. I feel like I missed out on some formative times, but you gotta roll with the punches, right? Slow. Story 10. Establish a system so you're consistently in the black, while understanding you may have periods of red, and be ready for those. Work on a time frame, or timeframes, that fits your bills and paycheck. Could be monthly, every 2 weeks, quarterly, yearly, etc. Understand the whole cost, including opportunity cost. I was asked why I put 50K in the stock market. Why not buy something cool as hell? Because if I buy 50K worth of stuff, it depreciates. Investing it can turn 50 to 100K in time. Look towards the future, not just the present. Have some patience. Buy in bulk when appropriate, but know if you don't use it, you didn't save money buying a ton of it. Work hard, but don't work for free. Story 11. Take care of your health. Save to buy, Avoid interest payments. Invest in yourself. Pretend that you are the business of you. Stay away from rotten people and hang around people who you want to be like. Stop putting obstacles in your way. I also love no zero-sum days, but there is a lot of luck in avoiding hazards. Story 12. Be born rich. No, but for real, make friends with everyone. 90 of opportunities come from personal relations. Story 13. For the love of God, learn from my mistakes. Do not keep all money in joint accounts. Have an emergency savings account in your name only. I used to finish my husband's sentences. We would sing together. I loved him with all my heart. There were no warning signs. A couple thousand hidden would have helped. If you make it to retirement, buy him a boat or whatever he likes. Disability insurance, often offered through work. Get it. If you are a couple, never fall into couples isolation. If the marriage goes bad, you'll have nothing left. Answer. I tell my friends this all the time, and they look at me like I'm so negative. Trust me, everyone. I'm female, so I always say, every woman needs a secret account, no matter how happy you are. All these women always say, no, I know him well. We will never break up. Then when it happens, which it has to a few of my girlfriends, they are left hurt and scrambling. I have emergency fund. I'm currently single, but when I date, I make sure I'm adding on to this account. My recent breakup had no financial problems, just shoot heartbreak. Story 14. Pay yourself first. Whatever you bring in, save 10 of it somewhere where you can't get to it easily, and then live off the rest. Story 15. Holy shoot, this thread has so much useless advice. There's a lot here about saving for retirement, budgeting, working harder. None of this is bad, but if you want to be wealthy, you need to actually make significant money. If you want to be wealthy, you need two things: a plan and risk tolerance. As a plan, I took the business route. I looked at technology companies that I was familiar with and had existing skills, and I just tried to do exactly what they did. From their website to marketing to services, I just tried to basically clone a business. I failed in a number of areas several times, but eventually got the hang of it. You need to take risk. All the saving, investing, buying a house advice, this is all just low-return, risk-adverse bullshit. You can survive nicely with it, but chances are you won't get wealthy. Some other random thoughts on some of the, quote, saving advice here. For the most part, fudge that shoot. Your plan should include a business of some kind that scales and in turn makes real money. You need to stop worrying about petty expenses and only work on your plan. Also, as for do what wealthy people do, like waking up early, etc., stop. I assure you, wake the fudge up whenever you want and just do the best work you can. If you're worried about aligning your work schedule with the position of the sun, just fudge stop. Answer. Amazing that I had to scroll down to find real advice. All the people think they're taking no risks and saving money is why they are rich. In reality, these things are why they aren't anxious. And the fact that some parts of the world are still a meritocracy is why they are doing well, combined with a healthy dose of luck that their bosses and managers weren't shitbags. I mean, so many wealthy people saying, do work for free. As you say, wealthy people take risks and view failure as a chance to gain valuable information and improved chance of success next time. One of the best pieces of advice for life is stop giving up so easily. Stop fearing failure. Failure is life's greatest teachers. The other thing I dislike about this thread is the implication that everyone is capable of becoming wealthy. 80% of people don't have the chops for it. Hence why wealth redistribution is important. Some people are born smarter than others. Oh, just work hard. As though poor people aren't working their jerk-off daily. Story 16. Take your grandmother out to breakfast once or twice a month and badmouth your parents and siblings. Pretty soon you'll be the sole heir to her estate. Story 17. Budget. If you can save money, do so. Don't live paycheck to paycheck if you can cut costs somewhere. Although this applies to anyone. I know people better off than I who still get worried about sudden payments they weren't expecting. Story 18. My parents have a lot of money. They earned it all. Rule number 1, don't buy shoot to impress people. That is a huge waste of money. Rule number 2, don't waste money on luxury cars. They lose a lot of value when you drive them off the lot, and they cost more to maintain. A nice Honda or Toyota or Ford won't cost you an arm and a leg, and you can afford to put the gas in it. Rule 3, save whatever you can and invest whatever you can. If you're only able to throw $5 a month in a savings account, then throw $5 a month in a savings account. Can only afford one for your work 401k? Then do it. Their last rule is probably the best one. Don't waste money. Wasting money means having cable TV when you work 40 hours a week and are only home for the weekends. Going out to dinner more than one night a week, or going out to lunch while working more than once per week. Buying a new TV or video game system immediately when a new one comes out. Seriously, people who have tons of cash usually come from money. But when 2008 happened, my parents didn't lose a cent. Hell, they bought another house because they had a good amount of savings. Answer: this. I came from money, but you wouldn't know it. My dad drove a Buick and mom's first car was a Chevy Vega, then upgraded to a Toyota Corolla. We lived modestly. They squirreled away a lot of money and are now living free. I learned all of these habits. I'm driving a 10-year-old piece of crap that has AC that died 2 years ago, but I only drive it maybe once a month, so no big deal. Also, max out your 401k. If your company matches, you are a fool to forego free money. Story 19. Formerly wealthy. Stop buying shit you don't need. Learn to differentiate between need and want. Understand that you will never stop wanting things, and the purchase of things does not make you happy. Cable TV, new cars, the latest and greatest tech product, data plans on your phone, high-speed internet, network gaming, new name brand clothes regularly, trips, gambling, drinking, substances, tattoos, pets, etc., etc., etc. Learn to shop at pawn shops for extraneous products. Learn to save at least 20% of your income. If you currently have streaming services and data plans and whatever else related to entertainment, cancel that shoot and save that money. Story 20. If you don't need it to exist, don't buy it. If you genuinely need it, buy the best, even if you think you can't afford it. People will spend more money the cheap thing they can afford than they would have had they bought the better quality thing to begin with. Terry Pritchett summed this up perfectly. The reason that the rich were so rich, Vimes reasoned, was because they managed to spend less money. Take Boots, for example. He earned $38 a month plus allowances. A really good pair of leather boots cost $50. But an affordable pair of boots, which were sort of okay for a season or two, and then leaked like hell when the cardboard gave out, cost about $10. Those were the kind of boots Vimes always bought and wore until the soles were so thin that he could tell where he was in Ankh-Morpork on a foggy night by the feel of the cobbles. But the thing was that good boots lasted for years and years. A man who could afford $50 had a pair of boots that'd still be keeping his feet dry in 10 years' time, while the poor man who could only afford cheap boots would have spent $100 on boots in the same time and would still have wet feet. This was the Captain Samuel Vimes Boots theory of socioeconomic unfairness. Answer: if you don't need it to exist, don't buy it. Ugh, our personal finance is leaking again. There is this thing called enjoying life. Sometimes that requires making purchases that aren't necessary for existence, but bring joy into your life. Putting off anything that gives you pleasure so that you can save every last penny is a great way to wind up living an unfulfilling and depressing life. Life is about finding balance. Don't throw it all away trying to chase a bigger number on your bank statement. Story 21. Before buying things, you need to understand which are needs and which are wants. You may need a vehicle to get to work. You likely don't need a 100K vehicle. You need dinner. You don't need lobster and steak nightly. When buying things, I sometimes ask myself, how many hours of labor is this costing me? Or, what does it enable me to earn? Or, in a bigger view, what does this do to my expected retirement date? Buying a 100K car, for instance, might mean working a couple of extra years because it's making up for the savings and the compounding that savings would have contributed. Story 22. Write and ask Reddit for rich people to comment on. Cyberstalk the respondents through the dark web. Send them an email with a Trojan virus in. Harvest bank details, logins, and passwords. Create a false bank account offshore. Transfer funds from their accounts to it. Withdraw the funds and close the account. Story 23. I'm not wealthy, but at 31, I think I'm well on my way. This would be in addition to any regular income I had from my part-time job. So it couldn't come from like a birthday or working a couple extra hours. It would have to be something extra that I found, like mowing a neighbor's lawn or helping someone move or something. Doesn't sound like much, but I started getting good at it. After a few months, I had a whole bunch of little odd and end things I could do to make extra money. I had neighbors who would regularly ask me for help with yard work. I'd fill in at a farmer's market and walk dogs. I'd search for gigs on Craigslist and write papers for cash. My neighbor taught me how to DJ, so I'd help him with that when he had a big job. Eventually, it was super easy to make an extra 20 at least once a week. So I'd think about how I could make 50, then a 100, then 200. I never let it interfere with my real work or school or social life, and I never depended on it or let it stress me out. It was more like a personal challenge. But as I got older, each level got easier and easier to regularly hit. I've been at it for 15 years now, and at this point, I make between $1,000 and $1,500 a week just managing a bunch of side hustles and hobbies that take up about 10 hours of time a week. I make pretty good money at my regular job, so this side money boosts me from just a good income and saving rate to a great income and saving rate. Plus, I'm at a point where I can pay 100 of my living expenses from side hustles, so it relieves a ton of stress.
Story 24.
I'm not wealthy, but I live in Cannes, and many of our friends are very wealthy. Children go to the same school. I'm not saying we're typical, but this is my experience. Whenever we get together on the beach for lunch, a bit of wine, and to let our children play, there's a persistent theme through the conversation. Hard work. There's an obsession with work. There's an obsession with discipline. Quite often at these get-togethers, there will a spouse missing, and we just know that the spouse couldn't make it because their working get hard. These people are highly educated and non-stop working machines. Someone will step away from the table to take a business call. Someone will look frazzled because they just flew in from a multi-country tour of business meetings. Sometimes people will bring a laptop and sit off to the side to get a bit of work in. The work-life ratio is horrible, but then they'll take off for a month and go sailing around the Mediterranean on their yacht. Work hard, play hard. Story 25. Consumer credit is a cancer on society. Cutting that anchor off your leg is the best thing you can do for yourself. If you can't pay for it in full today, you can't afford it. The exception would be a house, but even that should be handled differently than most people do. Story 26. Make sure you get your yacht decks polished only once a month. Any more than that is a waste. You don't need 3 personal helicopters. 2 is sufficient. When building your Scrooge McDuck-style money vault, don't fill it with coins like he did, as that is a waste of structural mass. Notes or bearer bonds require less construction materials to hold and make for a much softer landing when diving in. Only keep a skeleton staff at your holiday homes and personal islands when you're not visiting, and only bring the full staff in 2 days before your arrival. If you take down all the high-end escorts at the end of the night, you don't have to pay them. You only have to tip your butler an extra 100 to clean the mess. Story 27. Respect and stick with your family. It will get hard a bit with time, but trust me, when everyone is going to leave you, you are going to end up with your family, and family can help you to rebuild your life and wealth again. Story 28. If you have no money or even a negative net worth, 1. Take $1 bill and set it aside. This is the start of your fortune. It is not an emergency fund. Put it in a safe place and resolve to never spend it, ever. 2. As circumstances allow, add more dollars to that first one until you build your fortune up to $10. While doing that, don't think about 100 or 1,000 or $1 million. Just get to $10. Even if you are in debt, you will eventually have a fortune of $10. 3. Do this for successively larger amounts in small increments. 4. Read and follow the advice of Clark Howard, Dave Ramsey, and other reputable financial writers. But use their advice to learn how to manage your income, debt, and spending. Do not do anything with that fortune you are building. 5. When your fortune, which has no purpose other than to be your fortune, reaches 1,000, put it in an SP 500 index fund and reinvest the dividends automatically. 6. As your management of your other non-fortune money improves, add to your fortune. Always consider your fortune untouchable. It should be the one non-negotiable thing in your financial plan. Study investing and branch out from the index fund if you want, but always be conservative. 7. If you do this for some years, you will start to see significant growth of your fortune from appreciation and reinvested dividends. At a point where the income would make a difference in your life, allow you to work less, or help you with a major expense such as college or a home. Stop reinvesting dividends and start taking dividends out for other purposes. But never touch your fortune. Only use the income from your fortune. There are many systems and books for steps 3 through 7, but if you are sitting on empty, throwing the mental switch that lets you accomplish steps 1 and 2 are by far the most important. Inability to put $1 or $10 together is a common characteristic of poor people. Good luck. Story 29. If you don't care about your job, start looking for a new job. You will never be all that successful at something that doesn't interest you, and you will just be angry and frustrated both at and outside of work. Even if you're good at your job, if you dislike it and people can tell, you won't get far. Story 30. Stop smoking and stop your daily quadruple shot extra foamy Frappuccino habit. 10 a day is now 70 a week, is now 280 a month, and ends up being 3,650 a year. Put that money into an IRA or ASP 500 mutual fund. Boom. Oh, and don't have kids. That helps too. Story 31. Since a lot of these are about acquiring wealth, I'll say, stop giving a fudge what strangers think of you. Remember, we are all humans, and our patriotism should be dedicated to the human race. If there's something spectacular in the things bigger than you, aka the solar system, the universe, etc., then respect that there are spectacular things smaller than you, molecules, atoms, etc., and you have no idea what is happening in those universes. Story 32. Make yourself valuable. Learn new hobbies and skills in the spare time that you have. Once you become great at them, find ways to use them in your favor. Networking, making money, helping others, etc. Story 33. Reading indirectly trains your brain to focus, desensitizes you to our overstimulated, instant gratification current world we live in, helps with long-term thinking versus short-term impulses, an enjoyable brain exercise, non-fiction fiction, anything where you have to maintain sustained attention. Story 34. Don't smoke, drink, eat out, see friends, spend on electricity, or own furniture. Your life should consist of going to work, then cooking a meal of lentils on a stolen Bunsen burner. Our frugal jerk. Story 35. 1. Everything has an opportunity cost. 2. Wealthy people don't spend money on dumb things. That is what poor people do to feel wealthy. 3. Just about everything is a ripoff if you look deep enough. 1 defines how deep you look. 4. Know the differences between investment, asset, liability, and expense. 5. A house is not an investment. 6. A house is an asset, liability, and expense. A new house is only a liability and expense. 7. Wealthy people borrow money when they can afford to outright buy an asset, but can get a rate lower than what their investments can make. 8. Poor people borrow money when they can't afford to outright buy an asset and take on a liability and an expense as a result. I know some expenses are unavoidable without financing, but how you handle that situation matters. 9. Wealthy people's expenses are usually a much lower percent of their income than poor people. And not because wealthy people make more money, they tend to spend less on their expenses. 10. Cash is trash, not king. Always invest money you're not using. Inflation is a 2 to 3 compounding tax on poor people. Real solid no-joke cash is a liability and asset. Money in a bank collecting interest is less liability, more asset. I could keep going, but essentially, if you want to be wealthy because of lifestyle practices, understand that your burn rate is more destructive to your wealth than your earn rate. Also, don't limit your opportunities by taking on assets or liabilities that would anchor you. Story 36. As a new Reddit user, I've instantly regretted my comment. People are now messaging me for money. To be clear, asking strangers for money on Reddit is not a good habit everyone should start doing. Story 37. I only started having money when I stopped spending too much. I was never into cars, but I went through this photographer wannabe phase and I kept switching gears, never caring if I sold old ones way below the current minimum resale value. I can pretty much retire now, but choose not to because I want to stay as sharp as I can for a long, long time. Story 38. I probably should not respond, but I will. I should use a throwaway, but I am trying not to hide anything. Most of the replies I see are bullshit. Wealthy people don't put 10 in retirement or stick to a budget. I drink and at one time I smoked. I don't exercise as much as I should. I am busy. I am going to tell you what I do. I don't claim to be wealthy, and your mileage may vary. The truly wealthy leave a legacy or leave a mark on the world. While my kids will be fine at this point, my grandchildren will have to make their own legacy. The most important bit of advice is that you should invest wisely. Many would think this means reading the future and picking the right stocks. That is not the case. The only thing that I have complete control over is myself and my time. I am acutely aware of what my time is worth. I invest in myself first. Saving 2 hours a day is easily worth the cost of a car service. Arriving fresh at a meeting or conference is almost always worth the cost of first class. I also maintain all my investments. My cars get every recommended maintenance. My house is up to date. New kitchen, modern bathrooms, 100K remodel to make it open floor plan. These are also my investments, and they are ready for sale. I love them, but I would let them go in a heartbeat. I am not afraid to go broke. I have been poor. If I have to go back, I know I can make it. I can build it all back up again. Only take calculated risks, but never be afraid to go all in when that is the smart call. Even when you lose, you win. Be adventurous, a risk taker. I ride motorcycles all over the world, Africa, Siberia, Central America. I rode from the Florida Keys to Alaska in a week. This is the mindset that inspires success. Feeding the soul of adventure allows you to refine priorities and define those successes. During these times, I sleep beside the road or on the beach. These are tests of yourself. What do you really need? Give me a motorcycle, a tarp, and a way to keep warm at night, and I can travel the entire world. Self-educate. This stands alone. Never listen to anyone who says you cannot. Period. I have yet to find a real limit. A lot of people have told me what I must do, and none of them have ever been right. These are their limitations, not mine. Be positive. Always, always, always. Yes, I can help. Yes, it is a pleasure to meet you. And along these lines, learn to meet expectations. In an interview, when they ask if you have a question, have a good question prepared. Never say no. Even if it is, no, I do not have a question. Here is a question you can ask in nearly every situation. What does success look like? Job interviews lead into my next bit of advice. Bide your time. A lot of people say you cannot be truly successful and work for others. That is more bullshit. A lot of wealthy people work for others. Most CEOs report to a board. Get a traditional job, work hard, get promoted. This is not partied too hard time. Learn skills at someone else's expense. Save money and start your thing when you are ready. I may not have a budget, but I certainly have a plan. There is a lot more, but I hope you begin to get the idea. If you are not born to wealth, then you must learn the self-reliance and value systems to promote success. Get away from thinking about the bottom line and start investing in the most valuable assets you have. Make a plan, try something, and learn from failure. On a final note, I will also admit that I try to pay it forward. This may or may not directly contribute to success. Workers all deserve a bigger slice of the pie in my eyes. Share what you earn with your coworkers to ensure you are all paid fairly. Share knowledge and mentor others. Not only is that better for everyone, but some of these coworkers will be in positions to help you in the future. This is also the reason I am posting this response. I hope this makes sense. It is very late and I am on mobile. Story 39. I'm not rich, but I'm in the top 5 and I started out with nothing. Highly educated white male. 1. Subscription costs will eat you. Cable, Amazon Prime, Netflix, Hulu, PSN, magazines. 2. Yearly reviews go both ways. Ask for more. 3. Pay off debt if the interest is higher than 1. 4. Never have a CC balance. Your CC limit across all cards should never be more than 10. As you get richer, that goes down, not up. 5. If you play the stock market, play the long game. Also, spend at least 15 minutes a day reviewing the market. 6. Take the max on ESPP and any other stock offered by your company. 7. Set a 24-hour waiting period for any purchase over X. 200 is my X. 8. You can pay 60 for one game per year. The rest have to be 50 off before you buy. 9. Never loan a friend money. 10. Marry someone who works and plans to keep working. This works for all genders and preferences. Or don't marry. 11. Get insurance. For cars, make sure uninsured and underinsured are at least 150K. 12. If you lust after something, buy stock in the company that makes it. Buy it only when that stock increase tax makes it free. 2B. Answer. Hey mate, most of them are really helpful, but number 5 doesn't really make sense to me. If I'm playing the long game in the stock market, I really don't need to look at it every day. Playing the long game is important though. And to number 6, in most of the cases you are right, but it needs to be a really safe company. If the company goes downhill, you don't only lose your job, but additionally most of the money you spent getting those stocks. Story 40. As a smoker who drinks and rides motorcycles, but not at the same time, mind you, I keep good life insurance. I may not see the benefit, but my kids will. It's been a great ride. I can't complain. Story 41. Pay yourself first. Pay off your debts and bills. Then save, invest at least 20 of what's left. The money that remains is up to you to spend. AKA, spend after saving. Don't save after spending. One more time. Save first, then spend. Another tip is, a dollar saved is still a fudge dollar. Start investing right now. It's the kind of thing that snowballs immensely. Also, when your monthly income increases, stick to the same routine. Don't increase your monthly spendings because you suddenly have more money to spend. It's a fantastic way to stay trapped in the living paycheck to paycheck cycle. Go to YouTube and search up Dan Lok. Watch a few of his videos on how to unfuck yourself. It's helped me, and I'm darn sure it can help you. But the catch is, it only works if you are willing to apply it. Story 42. Move to a location that you will earn the most after expenses, or where you gain top-level experience. Do this for 5 years and then come back to the town you want to live in. Story 43. 99.99% of getting wealthy is luck. No one ever wants to admit this, but it's true. Therefore, try and make your own luck as much as possible. Get out there, network, talk, make friends. Move where your chosen industry is. Want to be a screenwriter? Move to LA and go to a ton of screenwriting classes and clubs. Don't stay in Akron, working at Five Guys, taking about how the world doesn't recognize talent. Story 44. Stop buying dumb shit off Amazon, and don't buy Amazon Prime unless it's for business purposes, because then you're more inclined to buy dumb shit off Amazon. Story 45. Don't think that you'll get wealthy by saving or spending less. The only way to get wealthy is making your money work for you. You have to save to get an initial nest egg, but take the money you have and invest it. Don't just try and save yourself to wealth. Also, never forget that wealth does not equal high income. You'd be surprised that people you see on the bus or in Walmart are actually more wealthy than the guy at Tiffany's driving an Audi. I'm a millionaire, but until recently, when I moved from a cheap home to a luxury apartment, people had little idea I had money. My wife and I drove old cars, lived in a so-so neighborhood, went on cheap vacations, and enjoyed a simple life. Story 46. Polish your monocle. It's possible for one to forget on ones to the polo grounds to cheer on their prep school alma mater, but can become a shameful disaster should the matrons of the old families make note. Story 47. Don't be too proud to beg out of keeping up with your friends. Saving money means not eating out or doing so without getting caught in price traps. Ribeye at 5x market value? Have a salad. Wine is $15 a glass? Skip it. Shop secondhand. You may be surrounded by people at your income level, but to get to the next higher bracket, you have to live like the next lower. It gets tough as a parent when your kid's friend has things I won't purchase. He can see our house is bigger and nicer. My son at least knows my wife and I don't have to work. But in his mind, no PS4 means poverty. Having grown up in actual poverty, it ticks me off to see that, but it takes a lot of self-confidence to be willing to act poor to gain wealth. Story 48. Start saving for retirement now. Even if it seems like a small amount like $40 every paycheck, shoot adds up. Story 49. Floss, use sunscreen, often. Eat a lot of vegetables and fruit. Don't drink soda, not even the diet stuff. Okay, if you love diet soda, then make it your big vice. Just be aware that it's messing with your microbiome. Don't be a jerk to people, even if they really deserve it. Routinely use some of your money to make the world a better place. Don't do things by subscription unless you have no other option. Those things are just a permanent tap into your money month after month. Story 50. This cannot be stressed enough. Health is wealth. No amount of money in the world is going to mean a thing if you're too sick to enjoy it. Most of my fun money goes to spas, expensive gym memberships, one with towel service and steam rooms and saunas, and looks so lovely it makes me actually want to go. Massage therapists, trainers, and buying good, high-quality food. Cooked at home. I don't go to restaurants except when the firm pays for it or it's a special occasion. I spend a ridiculous amount of money on health-related activities and items. Portable massage gun for the world. And I believe it's totally worth it. Story 51. Learn a trade and get some skills. If the job you have can be taught to you in 30 minutes, then you have no skills. If you have no skills, then you won't get paid much. X200B. Everyone I have ever heard that makes good money started off doing lower-level jobs and then learned a skill, and that is what changed their life. Story 52. Creating passive income. Living month to month, paycheck to paycheck is very risky. If your life can be thrown upside down from a few months with no paycheck, it's time to make a change. Do not live for instant gratification. Don't paper over cracks. Take time to build a solid foundation from which you'll reap the benefits later. Story 53. Not wealthy, but statistically, if you want to be very wealthy, the trick is to be born to rich parents. Story 54. We're not wealthy, but we're well off. One thing that I see most people not do is get insurance. Life insurance, property insurance, etc. They think it's a scam. It's not. You just need to educate yourself what you're getting into properly. It may sound cliche, but it's a way to look out for yourself and your family. Plus, if your mindset is to prepare your family for when you're gone, you can get pretty creative and motivated on how to amass a fortune. Story 55. Not wealthy, but literally keep all your change in a jar. My mother took hers out recently and had literally hundreds in there. Story 56. Wealthy people may not be the best people to ask. How about formerly poor wealthy people of Reddit? Story 57. 3 easy-to-read books. The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley. The Automatic Millionaire by David Bach. The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. All will give examples of what many here are saying. The first 2 are great to show that you don't need a lot to build wealth, just good habits, like automating saving and spending less than you make. The third has a good, solid plan to help you get established or out of debt, and then building net worth. Of course, get them from the library. Why spend money on them when you don't need to? ETA, fix a typo. Story 58. Not rich, but I would add that the longer you can keep a car running and drive it, that's a huge way to save some expenses. Story 59. Budgeting, period. Anytime I hear someone say, I have a good idea of what's in my account, I cringe. Money can go very fast, and that attitude got my husband into trouble years ago. And of course, me with it. I eventually took over finances, and we've been pretty good ever since. He feels much more confident now that he knows we have money. Story 60. Save money, invest your money. That way you can make some extra money as well as being paid for your job. Story 61. Don't buy a car that's more expensive than you can afford. Never go upside down on a car loan. Story 62. There is a good book that you might find interesting called The Millionaire Next Door, which emphasizes living below your means and prioritizing financial security over social standing. You may want to check it out. Story 63. 1. Invest early. Even if it is just a few dollars a month, it starts a lifelong habit and the miracle of compounding interest. 2. Complete all of whatever education training you need before you have kids. Don't have kids? Why are you waiting? Do it now, even if you have to do it slowly. Starting is the hardest part. 3. Go to bed early, wake up early. That ensures your awake time is spent doing something useful. A little fun down time every day is fine, but a decent sleep schedule keeps it in check. 4. Seek out financial counseling. Many free resources depending on your situation. Seek them out. 5. Stay the course. Like dieting, don't let a cheat defeat you. Pick yourself back up and continue on. Good luck. Story 64. I always start my day with exercise. Whether it's the gym, bike ride, or just a 10-minute walk, I always exercise within an hour of waking up. I've noticed when I don't, I have a much less productive and energetic day. Story 65. Exploit the working class. If you can't exploit your fellow man, you will never be able to acquire the fruits of their labor for yourself. Also, be born into money. That's how 95 of us do it. Story 66. As soon as you get paid, put 10 into a savings account. Ideally one that's hard to get money out of. Destroy the ATM cards so you have to go into the bank. This is your down payment on a rental property. Don't use it for anything else. Make your first home purchase a rental. Get a duplex or at least something with an extra room in an area where you can rent it out. If you can pull off a multi-unit building and live in the smallest, worst one, even better. While your friends are pissing away money on rent, you'll be collecting it and building equity. Put all the money left over from the rent payments into your 10 bank account after you pay for the mortgage, insurance, and taxes. This is your down payment for the next rental and also your maintenance fund for your existing rental. Anytime you make payments on something that depreciates, pretty much anything that isn't real estate, make a payment every 4 weeks. Ideally, you get paid every 2 weeks to make this easier. If you do that, you'll make 13 payments a year and cut your interest costs significantly. Make sure there is no early payment penalty. Things in this category might be a car loan or some other equipment you might need for your rental. Credit cards are for convince only. Never carry a balance. If you can't pay it off, you can't afford it. No exceptions. Well, there is one exception if you need something for your rental property. You can put it on credit because you can write off the cost plus the interest. And in theory, you have rent coming in to cover it. Ideally, get a card with no fees and reward points. If you can't handle the responsibility, destroy your credit cards and use a debit card. You need the credit cards to build credit, but you don't need to use them but once a year or two. Basically, every time they send you a new one, use it once or twice. Invest in aggressive index funds like VIOO or VTI. Keep some spare cash in these funds till you need it. You might lose money and that's okay, but it will basically track inflation. Story 67. Learn about the power of compound interest. Anything you put away for retirement in your 20s will be worth more than you can imagine when you retire. Also, it's not what you spend, it's what you save. Story 68. My husband and I are not wildly wealthy in the location we live in, but in general, we are definitely upper middle class. We were not always this way. In fact, when we first got married 8 years ago, we were still in college and completely, utterly broke. At one point, I had to sell my engagement ring for gas money. So you might say, we've learned a lot along the way. The best advice I have is to make a budget and stick to it. The easiest way to do this is with an app or something similar. We use an old version of YNAB. You need a budget, but their new version is great too. No matter what your income may be, getting all your monthly bills laid out in one place is so helpful. Beyond that, play around with how much you spend on groceries, eating at restaurants, which is seriously a huge expense if you let it run away with you, clothes, gas, etc. Those numbers might have to be changed around a little from month to month, or even bi-weekly, depending on how often you get paid. Before you start saving, I so recommend you work on reducing or paying off your debts. There are some exceptions like car house payments, student loans, etc. But focusing on paying off credit cards, for example, will help you in the long run because you won't have to pay interest forever. Eat at home when you can, meal prep a little, and use that extra cash to pay off what you need. Then later, that extra cash can be funneled into savings. Edit to add. I'm not entirely sure that YNAB is a free app. In fact, if you're really living from paycheck to paycheck, it might be too large of an expense. I do recommend Mint as a free alternative. Story 69. If you're young, save money now. Saving as little as $2,000 a year in your 20s can accumulate up to roughly $2 million by the time you're 65, as long as you don't touch it. And as others have said, make a budget and stick to it. Have a 5-year plan. Update it as you go. Don't use a credit card if you can't pay it off every month. I wouldn't call myself wealthy, but I'm doing okay for myself, and I have really good credit, thanks mostly in part to a finance class I took years ago. It's easy if you have self-control to do these simple things. Story 70. Savings should be the first thing calculated in a budget. You don't have money for anything else before setting aside money to save. Story 71. Never borrowing money for anything ever, and using a budget to track your money. I started sleeping in my car for 3 months, and now my net worth is $100K, increasing by an additional $100 every week. I'm not a millionaire yet, but with just my savings account, I will be well before I retire. Story 72. 1. Understand compound interest. 2. Learn about the stock market, other investing options. 1 book per quarter. 3. Pay yourself first. Automatically save percentages in various retirement, investment accounts. 4. If you can't afford to immediately pay the credit card you're using, don't buy it. 5. Ask wealthy and successful business people for advice on how they achieved what they have. Most are not douchebags and will pay it forward to you. Find mentors that have what you want. Story 73. Not getting too hung up about money. Work out what makes you happy and go for that, rather than trying to get more things. Story 74. ITT blah blah blah. Live within your means. Pay rent first. Needs over wants. Blah blah blah. Savings. Be born into a well-off family. Blah blah. Be humble. Sometimes a small loan of $1 million is what you need to get out of your rut. Story 75. 1. I'm a 6-figure earner and wealth generator, but health is our biggest wealth, IMO. I went plant-based so I don't end up paying for prescription substances just to end up getting a bypass surgery that's $10,000s of dollars. I'm not even overweight. I just had high cholesterol due to, quote, genetics. My elderly dependent needs will come in later than expected. Elderly assistance is costly. The thought of saving up for a quality aid assistant is depressing. 2. Adopt a resourceful and minimalist mentality. Live like you don't have money and you'll find yourself reusing things, shopping less, and compulsively saving. Change your language about retail. You barely need a thing. 3. When you put your money into stocks, you start to save compulsively as you see how fast it can grow when done well. Story 76. I'll summarize for everyone. 1. Go to the dentist. Floss. I made this mistake. It eliminated me thinking about it. 2. Don't smoke. Also made this mistake. 3. Don't be an emotional, immediate gratification spender. 4. Don't be an emotional investor. Occasionally make this mistake, but occasionally it pays off. 5. Pay off all debt as soon as possible. You don't want to be paying someone else money so you can have that shiny thing you wanted that is now broken, sits in a closet. Story 77. Work on a budget and stick to it. I used to spend my money mindlessly, and at the end of the day, I always wondered where my money went. Smoking and drinking are the biggest waste of money in my opinion. They basically cost a lot, provide no benefit, and you'll likely pay for the consequences in time to come. If you can, kick the habit and your bank account will thank you. Story 78. Pay yourself first. This means take as much as you can from your paycheck and put it into a 401k and employee stock purchase program if they are available to you. Alternatively, have your portion of your direct deposit go into an investment account. If those funds never land in your checking account, you won't spend them. Story 79. So this kind of depends on your definition of wealthy. If you're thinking top 0.1, then a big part of the answer is luck. A lot of these things will get you to a financially comfortable position. But if you want to make millions, that road is paved in luck. Yes, hard work and planning are generally required, but there are plenty of people who do that and don't end up wealthy. Most of the advice I see here is about maximizing what you have, which is important, but wealth is a whole different story. Story 80. Success is as much about who you know as what you know. Best book I ever read in the self-improvement genre is Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. TLDR of that book is to network, build relationships, real relationships, not transactional ones. Demonstrate competency in whatever it is you do and give respect. And you'll be surprised how a strong network will pay off. Story 81. Just reading this now. Save your goddamn money. Seriously, a wee bit in a mutual fund as early as possible. Get rid of your credit cards. Story 82. A few things make achieving wealth easier. 1. Education. Learn a valuable skill and get really good at it. If you don't get this, well, good luck. 2. Save. Make it a fudge priority. Study it and make the system work for you. The reason rich people have rich kids is partially because they get a head start, but more so than that, it's because those kids get the information and guidance. The info is out there. If you don't have a guide, find one. Study and make your money work when you are sleeping. Fudge or passed out tipsy. A shoot job is still creating money, and eventually that money can turn into something substantial. 3. Relationships. Don't get into one with someone who doesn't share the majority of values with you. This will cost you dearly if it doesn't work out, and if you share the majority of interests, it will save you on entertainment. 4. Don't buy stupid shoot. Just because Eric and Lindsay have a Rover and go to Cabo all the time doesn't mean they can afford it. Don't ever try to compete. That's stupid to begin with, but also there will always be someone with more. 5. Be honest with yourself. Be brutal. Don't act like you enjoy baseball, steaks, or horses if you don't. Don't golf. Don't go on vacation. Don't buy a fancy car. Don't do anything if it doesn't really matter to you. People waste fortunes on bullshit blenders and flooring and fudge purses. Give me a break. Fudge anyone who buys a purse that costs between $500 and $20K. If your purse costs more than $20K, well, you can do it because you have the cash. Story 83. Instead of working a job, work for yourself. Better yet, hire people to work for you, paying them less than what their work earns for you. That's the gist of how people get wealthy. If you provide $100K worth of value at a job, maybe you earn a salary of $60K. Instead, become very good at what you do and learn how to become an expert. Provide that same value but to yourself instead, and keep the entire $100K. Better yet, over time, hire 10 people and train them to do what you do. Pay $600K in salaries out of the $1 million in value you earn from them. Along with your own work, now you're making $500K a year, doing basically the same thing as the person with a $60K salary. Retaining the value of your own work, while even utilizing the value of other people's work, is how people actually get wealthy. It almost sounds exploitative, but 99% of the population is literally begging for it. Everyone wants a job, besides wealthy people. And it's not because they're too wealthy to work. It's because trading your time for a salary is not generally how you become wealthy. Story 84. If you don't have the money nor the cash flow, try not to buy brand new cars. I'm not saying buy a junker, but a car a few years old will be around half price. Story 85. Don't get caught. Avoid situations where you have to bribe or pay people off, or worse, knock people off. But most critically, don't get caught. Story 86. It basically comes down to only buying what you need and putting your standard where you need it. Around my teenage years, I had around $600 for my own private use. That's all I had all these years. When I had my training years, I got $800 a month. That was totally overwhelming for me. I still lived by my standards and really got some money aside. When I finally started living alone and moved out, I still was able to live with that money. Now that I'm out of my training, I still live by my standards and really get some serious money flow. Money's still coming in. I don't care about my spending because I know that even on autopilot, I could never spend my money. Story 87. Inheritance. Extracting workers' surplus labor, curb labor rights, bend laws, bribery, imperialism, etc. Story 88. Wash your hands. When you go to the bathroom, it's a good habit to wash your hands. No telling how much the poor people spend on doctor bills because they don't wash their hands. Story 89. Don't buy too much stuff. You really don't need it. You can wear clothes over more than you'd like. Kids are really expensive. They are worth it, but they take your income. Don't blow money on hookers, substances, and adult beverage. Don't gamble. It doesn't work. Get a financial advisor when you can and have them do your investing. Buy a house when you can. The equity is worth more than paying rent and having nothing at the end. Education is often worth the work and time. You will get more, higher paying opportunities. Story 90. If it will appreciate, own it. If it will depreciate, rent it. For example, from UK, a house typically goes up in value, so own it to realize that gain when you sell it. Renting just pays someone else's mortgage. Cars tend to depreciate. Yes, however many flame decals you add. So buying new cash and losing 20 driving it away is not a good plan. If you can afford it, some kind finance usually means the bank has to stick the loss, such as those 3-year balloon payments. Better to buy a cheap car outright that had a lot of depreciation already, maybe $3K. Story 91. Getting the best education possible helps. Even if, unfortunately, it's just the name of the school that opens doors down the road. Create wealth. It opens doors and creates opportunities that are inaccessible otherwise, for better or worse. Story 92. Stop asking wealthy people how to be successful first. This leads to you falling into the trap of survivorship bias. For everyone that tells you, I made $1 million doing X, you always need to remember there could be potentially hundreds of people who did the exact or nearly the exact same thing and did not become wealthy and no longer exist to tell you what they did. Always include, how could this fail, in your estimates of how you will grow. There are probably hundreds of thousands of Warren Buffetts in the world that followed the formula, and you don't know about them because they're all broke. Instead, look for general principles that are good in any situation. Diversification is a great place to start, both in investing and how you approach life. Having asymmetric information works as well, such as a skill that is not easily copied, or rare domain knowledge or social connections. Always be on the lookout for things you don't know and people that tell you they know. It's easy for someone to tell you something like, real estate is the key to wealth, or the real money is in IT startups. But do you know all the ways those can fail? Do you know enough about property law, taxes, mortgages, etc. to really manage real estate? Do you know how startup funding works? Did the guy that hired you start with the line, we're going to make so much money, but never really give you numbers about how? Worse, do you think that guy that told you, buy Bitcoin, really knows anything about it other than the price went up? Everything you don't know increases your risk of ruin. And that gets to the last thing I try to follow. Minimize your risk of ruin first, ideally making it zero, but we all die someday, so good luck with that. Another way you see this put is as, never risk more than you're willing to lose. You will experience loss in your life. Sometimes it will be profound. But if you position yourself to make it through the hard times first, you'll find the average good times are much more rewarding than you might have expected them to be. The more you have at the bottom will make the amount you have at the top unthinkable. Anyone that sells you a method that includes only profits and gains is a con man and should be avoided. They do not see the hidden ruin. Story 93. Make a higher number than zero your zero. For For example, have $10,000 in your account and rarely go below it. I dip below it sometimes, emergency or big-ticket items, and I feel as awful as having negative dollars because it still feels like it's borrowed, owed money. You don't need to be wealthy to do this. You only need to have a bit of dedication. The first car I bought was $500. When I got my first job at age 16 at Walmart, I didn't spend much money. The only things I spent money on was beer, gas, and lunch food, and I accumulated $10,000 in about a year, and I've made it my zero ever since. Story 94. Fix your spending and stop thinking that additional money will solve your problems, because it won't. Big wasn't 100 right when he said mo money, mo problems, but it's definitely not a case of mo money, less problems if your spending is the problem. Very often people's net worth starts to slow as their income increases. This is absurd. Story 95. Do something you're passionate about. Work harder than anyone else you meet and keep going until you get to where you wanted to be from the start. Don't let Plan A defeat you if it fails. Keep an open ear, but take no advice at face value. Story 96. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Make yourself valuable, then look to switch employers every 5 years or so. There is no benefit to being loyal. Always argue for more than you actually want. Buy nice or buy twice. Don't believe anyone selling anything to be interested in your well-being. Live like you're absolutely destitute regardless of your income. Invest in what you know and are able to be critical of. The markets are impossible to time, so don't try. Just invest long-term. You don't have to have almost anything. Do everything you can yourself. Never quit working. Retirement is just a pseudonym for stopping doing things you don't want to do for money so that you can do the things you do want to do. Very likely someone will pay you to do what you want to do if you do it well. Pass on your wealth to your grandchildren. By the time you die, your kids are going to be hitting retirement age and will no longer invest their inheritance well. And younger children care more for each other's well-being than older ones that have grown apart. Pass on your own inheritance and give it to your kids to start the chain. But by and large, be born into wealth or marry into it. If you can't do that, start businesses over and over until one is successful. Nobody ever gets rich trading hours for money, even well-paid engineers and professionals. Understand that someone making a low six-figure salary is so far removed from wealthy people, regardless of whether or not you believe they are living the high life. Owning capital that you can leverage a return on is far better than working for money. If you're a business owner, never give your employees more than you have to in order to keep them around, or you'll find your business failing quick. Also, don't vote for Republicans unless you are already wealthy. Don't vote Democrat if you are wealthy. I've known a multi-millionaire that disliked nearly 100 of the Republican platform, but always voted Republican on the basis of lower taxes. I've known many dirt poor people who vote Republican, who really would benefit more from safety net policies such as food stamp and Pell Grants. Take advantage of everything and everyone at every opportunity. If you can sacrifice safety without taking any liability risks to make a buck, do so. Likewise, use offshore accounts and tax tricks as much as you can. You can put $18.5K each year into retirement accounts, tax-free, to reduce tax liability. Put money into your spouse's IRA if you hit that max and want to try to reduce tax liability more. Use HSA accounts to further reduce tax liability. Pay as absolutely little taxes as you possibly can while taking advantage of every grant and government handout you can. Absolutely be paranoid about your money. Don't let a single dollar go unaccounted for. Track it all with a tight budget and be conservative in your estimates. Don't have too many kids. They are a drain on your time and resources, and you will have to split your wealth too many ways to perpetuate family wealth if you do. If you can't spend enough time and money on the kids you have, they'll resent you, and your retirement years will suffer. I wish I were joking about half of this list, as it seems unethical and corrupt, but that is how you get ahead. The capitalist world rewards selfish and greedy people. Only be as charitable as necessary for your own benefit, looking good to your wealthy friends, cutting taxes, etc. My credentials are that I'm from a poorish family and a very poorish town, but my grandfather's estate at the time of his passing was worth somewhere around $6 million, and likely a lot more than that now. I'm also a registered engineer and make a six-figure income, and know that it isn't enough to live a life most consider to to be wealthy. I've also seen several relatives marry multimillionaires and live non-working class rich lifestyles. I've seen dirt poor people in a third world country and live there long enough to understand them. If you aren't wealthy and you're already married without the ability to receive a large inheritance, you're basically screwed for becoming wealthy at any age that would make it enjoyable. The best you can do is work hard and invest well, and you'll have a shot when you are nice and old to have enough money to enjoy a good, simple life. Pass on that wealth to a much younger generation. Skip your kids, and they might have a chance at being really wealthy by the time they are ready to retire. If they pass their wealth on to their grandkids, you may actually have some great-great-grandchildren that are actually wealthy. My grandpa was wealthy, primarily through inheritance and screwing his siblings over. But he also worked hard with what he inherited. Wealthy people get to do the things they want to. That's it for this video. Don't forget to support Vancher and my second channel, Vancher Ask. See you soon.